What is up, everybody? Sorry that mic was muted, but welcome to episode 30 of Hobby Hotline. As always, hope everybody's having a good day with over 200 years combined collecting experience and knowledge. We hope to bring you guys an entertaining Saturday. This week we've got a couple of big announcements that we'll be making throughout the show. So stay tuned throughout the show because there's quite a bit that we'll be discussing going on here in just a little while. What's going on, Ziggy, Mr. Klein, everybody? Hope everyone's having a good day. Sorry for you guys that watched on Periscope. If you watched before, it seems that Periscope is no longer working with StreamYard and Restream. At least at the moment. And so we're unable to get you guys in there today. But as always, joining myself, the DH from Let Me Get That Potograph, is the man himself. I still miss the mustache, Mr. Mike Summer.
Hey there.
What's up, man? How you doing?
I'm doing all right. All right.
Good. Happy birthday, Joe. That's awesome, man. Happy birthday. Hope it's a good one. Hope everything is goes good for you. But well, Mike, I guess we plan on starting a little different, but we'll audible here and we'll dive in. And guys, I am going to put the link right now. I've just posted it in the chat, so you will be able to call in with any questions, comments, anything you may have. But Mike, I don't think a week goes by that there's not a lot of entertaining stuff in the hobby, and this week definitely no different.
Yeah, I would say there's plenty going on. It's a never-ending stream of topics to talk about. Both positives, both negatives, and just the fun, pure hobby aspect of things to collect and get involved with and talk about. So yeah, there's plenty going on.
Yeah, absolutely. There definitely is. So I don't know, guys, please call in if there's anything in particular that you would like to discuss. Definitely hit us up. But Mike, you said, both positive and negative going on. What struck you the most this week, at least? What stood out the most this week for the hobby for you?
I think for me, it's the thing that I'm enjoying the most right now is the constant conversation that exists, and you can pretty much throw out a topic about anything and there's opinions to be shared. There's opinions to be had. And so I think that's one of the things that I like the most. There's a pretty good conversation going on yesterday with a few different people talking about Project 2020 and the falling print runs with Project 2020 and whether or not it's a good thing for collectors to celebrate that. And from an artist perspective, with them being compensated based on how many of their cards get sold direct from Topps, there are some people saying celebrating lower print runs is a bad thing because it's bad for the artists and it could hurt their feelings that people are celebrating them not making as much money. And on the flip side, I think there's conversation about lower print runs equals higher dollar values. And along with those higher dollar values, there can be, for some people, a sense of prestige that comes with an artist having a card that sells for a higher amount of money. And there's probably something somewhere in between there of things that can be good and things that can be bad. I think there's a piece of that conversation that exists around the fact that a savvy artist can make money in a lot more ways and for a lot longer period of time from this project if they're engaging and building a following and building a reputation and that type of thing. And they can use the involvement with this project to generate income far into the future, much beyond the 20 cards that they're going to produce. And so there's just a lot of good conversation. A couple of the artists chimed in, or at least one of the artists chimed into the conversation. And it was something that I really enjoyed hearing both sides, sharing some perspectives, hearing other people's perspectives. And it kind of brought in that balance of the hobby aspect, the collecting aspect of the set, the financial aspect for people who like to buy and sell and have cards that are going to appreciate in value, and the artist perspective, the people who are creating these cards for us to collect. And so it was just a pretty neat conversation. And those are the types of things that I really enjoy participating in, and hearing multiple sides of the story and multiple angles and multiple perspectives. And I don't know, that was a long-winded answer to that, but that's an example of the type of conversation that I enjoy being a part of.
Absolutely. There was a lot. I actually talked about it a lot on this week's show, about how much Project 2020, has changed. And ever since that big print run happened, and the quote unquote free fall, whatever you may call it, happened, there's been so much interesting developments, and I've got my own views on the falling quote unquote fallen print runs and everything. And it really is something very interesting, because I know a couple of things. One, I know they're making multiple documentaries or miniseries on this project that are being put out. They're being done as we speak. So you've already got a lot of attention that's going to be put back on this project here in the future. So it definitely lends itself to a lot of possibilities. But we're going to bring on now, we've got our first guest joining us, which I'll actually have something else to say about that in just a moment. You guys know him. He's no stranger, Mr. Uncle Rich Klein. How's it going, buddy?
Well, let me fix the mic. How are y'all?
Hey,
we're doing good. How about yourself?
I didn't get to see any of that conversation yesterday, but that's a fascinating conversation, because within the span of a few months, we started the year with a nice steady Project 2020. We had an explosion. We had 100,000. It was just a tad under, so I'm just going to call it 100,000 of one of the Griffies produced. And now we're back to a more normal print run. And so when you have a more normal way of doing things, yes, the artist may not make as much money, but it's not all of a sudden a hype and people are now looking to buy or sell or get the things that are, okay, they're going to go up because everything goes up. Yeah. Now it's the people who are going to buy them really want them. And I think on one sense that becomes a lot healthier. Plus, if you're a contrarian, you start buying as the market goes down, because buying into a down market a lot of times is the way to make money.
Absolutely.
It will recover.
And but guys, real quick, we're going to pause because there is something. I know he doesn't have a lot of time, and he's going to call in. And Uncle Rich, this actually kind of involves you as well. So we're going to take one moment and bring in somebody very familiar to the show. You guys know him. He's part of the show, Big Chef. What's up, buddy? Good morning, man.
Hey, good morning, all. It's good to see all of you guys.
Yeah, so I just wanted to have you on here for a few.
Yeah, no, we just kind of represent the about the cards guys this morning, and we just we said on our show this week we were stepping away from the Hobby Hotline as regular hosts. You'll probably see us pop on like this every so often. It's just that I don't think we can commit the time and effort it takes right now with a lot of stuff we have going on, and we didn't want to let anybody down or cause any shorten host or anything. And so we appreciate everything to do. We're going to keep supporting the show. We think it's great. We like everybody's popping in and helping out and stepping up, so that's been great. It's been fun to get to know a lot of you guys a lot closer. And little guy here. We hoping to great continued success for the Hobby Hotline, and we're going to keep supporting it. So,
well, thanks, man. I just for myself, I just wanted to say it's been a pleasure having you guys as part of the show. And you're welcome anytime, always. But I hope everything goes well. Hope this relieve some of that stress, and thanks so much for what you guys have done for the show, man. It's been great, really.
No, yeah, definitely. And like I said, we'll keep supporting and keep going. And so I know Uncle Rich, he's a better version of Steph. So
well,
don't forget Uncle Rich for a reason.
Yeah. Well, thanks so much, Big Shep.
All right, guys. I'll see you soon.
All right. Well, speaking on that, and Shep, thanks again. So, guys, that was some of the big news as the guys from About the Cards have decided to move on from Hobby Hotline due to, like he said, this stuff takes a lot of time. A lot of people think you just sit down in a camera and that's it. It's not. It does take a lot of time, and I really appreciate everything they've done for the show. The content that they put out is top notch and stellar. I watch About the Cards every single week. But with that in mind, and with Mr. Rich Klein on the line, I would like to take this moment to announce with the departure of About the Cards, obviously Hobby Hotline, it drops a few members. Well, we've filled that void, and I'm here now to announce the new hosts of Hobby Hotline. Obviously, you've got myself and John Newman. Mike Summer is still going to be popping in here from time to time. I know he's going to do a show in September, and he'll let you guys know later down the line as much as he can do. But in addition to that, you've got Val still from NASCAR Radio. But then coming to the show now, we've got, of course, Uncle Rich Klein from Klein's Corner. We've got Brad Bethune from Confessions of a Texas Card Dude. I'm not even going to butcher your last name, buddy. I do it every single time. So Jeff, a.k.a. Pat Geek. In addition to that, we've got one of my favorites, and I can't wait, Brody the Kid from the Hobby Life joining. And then we've also got guest hosts Chris Harris, which you guys know is Stale Gum, and Jeff Denson, which is Deafness 45 / In Depth with Deafness, and Dr. James Beckett from Sports Card Insights, along with Ziggy No. So all of those guys will be now hosts, and a couple of guest hosts throughout, filling that major hole that it is being left, with the departure of About the Cards. So just wanted to take a moment out of today's show to announce that. So here we are from there. So welcome, Rich.
Thanks for having me. It's not like I haven't been on before.
Right.
And Drew is right. I am taping a podcast tomorrow with a really good hobby friend of mine, Mike Fruitman, and he does a show with somebody. And they sent me a list of 15 things to talk about during the show, how the show runs. It's not just, hey, I just show up and talk because I can do that.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
The rest of the people actually have to prepare. But there's something about you really do have to prepare the shows. You want to have
hold on. Real quick, I also did forget. I don't know how I missed this name. That is totally my fault. But also from Beckett, Mr. Eric Norton will also be joining the show. Apologies, Eric. There was a lot on that list.
But you really do have to prepare the shows. I mean, I've seen the About the Cards prep. Steph has sent it to me a couple of times in the past. It's a lot of work. It's not just show up and, I can do that. As I said, I do that. When I tape the podcast with Dr. Beckett, he sends me a list of things, 6 things we're going to talk about, and it's just the topic, and then basically I freewheel it.
Yeah.
But most of these shows you can't freewheel.
Right.
But I wanted, we had a very important, it's socially related, but not hobby related this week. But we had the players, I'm going to use the term, making a stand about social issues this week. And
all right.
There have been some very strong reactions on both sides of the political aisle. I'm going to take us back to 1968. And this year is reminded a lot of 1968. Well, Martin Luther King's burial was scheduled basically, I believe, for opening day of 1968. Yeah. And there was a lot of debate, which did not happen. I don't know. I don't think they postponed opening day. They probably should have in retrospect. But it's the same discussion we're having 52 years later. And, in terms of card values, a lot of the people that were the most active involved are still beloved in the hobby today. So I wouldn't necessarily think that it's going to have any long-term impact on anybody's value if they spoke up this week. And I also want to say, if you Google these words, racial profiling Milwaukee Bucks, There were two members of the team that were racially profiled very publicly. And so when that happened in Kenosha, which is not that far away from Milwaukee, those players took it personally. We're white. We'll never know what it's like to be racially profiled.
No, absolutely.
So we're not in their shoes. So we love them as athletes, but we also love, like everybody else, the right for them to speak up. And as I said, in terms of the hobby, it will not affect their long-term pricing. They will end up where they're going to end up. Because talent usually trumps everything else in sports.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike.
Yeah, I don't know that I've got anything. I think that's some great insight.
Yeah.
I think that's one of the things that I love about Rich's involvement is that the added perspective that he has for the eras and the current events of what was happening in those decades before, we were either alive or aware of the things that were going on at the time. And so I think that's great perspective and a great callback to, of pretty much the very similar social issue that we were dealing with at that time as well. So yeah, thanks, Rich, for adding that perspective.
No, yeah, and I could not agree with you more. And speaking on the hobby value aspect, I really don't see a decline whatsoever in that. I think this is something that eventually, just like before. Rich, you'd attest to this. Eventually, it gets back down to sports, and it gets back down to the core root of everything, which is the hobby and the games that are being played. Now, granted, there could be a long way to go for that. We don't know, who knows? But eventually, it gets down to that. I don't see it having a massive effect myself. Guys, please let us know. Call in, join the show. Let us know if what you think, or if you have any questions. The link is posted in the chat here. But yeah, definitely interesting. Let's see here. Joe Light right here. It's sad we haven't really moved the dial on these social issues since the late 60s. And it really is, it is. We were finally getting to that point. I mean, come on, guys. We had the NBA playoffs, the NHL playoffs, Major League Baseball kicking into basically their halfway point. We had football starting, NBA. I mean, you had everything, and that's not including your wrestling, whatever you want to call it. We literally had everything in the world, and then you look for a second, you blink, and it seems like it could go away, but it looks like that's not going to be happening. And I know I, for one, am greatly looking forward to the NBA happening today.
Okay. Can I answer Ziggy's question since it's still part of this conversation?
Absolutely. Of course, you're part of the show, Rich. You need to ask.
I like to ask for permission anyway. It's still a courtesy. Ziggy, it was divided in 1968. You had three parties. George Wallace basically ran as a segregationist. He is the last third-party candidate to ever get electoral votes. We've not had any get electoral votes as a third-party candidate since then. He's very important in the election. You literally had an election that didn't get decided until the next day. It took to maybe 10 the next morning or 2 in the afternoon or whatever for Nixon to finally formally be elected president. We were that divided. And it got worse during the Nixon because the Vietnam War is what really, between the racial strife and the Vietnam War, we had major schisms in the country. In those days, it was also length of hair. If you wore your hair long, you were in trouble. Yeah. You were considered new wave or radical. But there are some positives. Some of the very best and most famous sports books come out of those athletes. Jim Bounton's Ball 4 comes out of that period. Dave Megacy out of their league for football. Other books as well. And I think that was really the first step to humanizing the athletes. And the reporters weren't covering up necessarily for their malfeasance anymore. So I think it turned out okay. But for them it took 50 years. It's still an evolving process. But yes, we were very divided in 1968. We're just as divided today. Hopefully we'll have some galvanizing things like the moonwalk in 1969, which help bring us together.
Well, yeah. I was going to say, I think that's great. One of the other things I just wanted to make sure we hit on before it got too far up the stream is Ziggy had another question early in the show asking about the 582 Montgomery Club.
Yes.
And so not abruptly or whatever to change conversations, but with the little break, I wanted to hit on that. The Tops 582 Montgomery Club, this is the second year of the club, and it typically opens up for membership in the fall, usually around November-ish. And the first year, it was open for about 24 hours for inaugural members before they, quote unquote, sold out. Last year, it opened up for renewal to existing members. And then it opened up a couple days later for, again, a very brief time for new members to enroll. They've never actually announced how many people that is, how many people are in the Montgomery Club, but it's estimated somewhere between 1,000 and 2,000 memberships.
Yeah.
Something along those lines. So the first year, the membership cost $199. Last year, it went up to $249 for new members. It'll be interesting to see what that turns into next year. Who knows? I'm going to guess it's going to go up again, but we'll see what that is like. So for those of you who have heard about the Montgomery Club, who have seen some of the products and some of the benefits that come with being a member, like some access to some of these pre-sale things, it is not available currently. It will likely be open again for renewal or new members sometime in the fall, probably in the November time frame. And so just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Feel free to reach out if you've got any more questions. I've been a member both years so far, and it's been good. So by all means, feel free to reach out if you've got any more questions about that.
Yeah, and to piggyback off of that for just a moment, Mike, you were dead on. The Montgomery Club, it is going to be a lot more this year. I think that also has a lot to do with the added value that they're giving people now. But year one, there wasn't that much. You had certain things that was cool, but then it wasn't as big as it is now. You didn't have the access to the stuff that you're getting now. But speaking on Montgomery Club, normally does come out in November, and like Mike said, Mike can probably give you every piece of information you need on the Montgomery Club. This man knows it quite well. But it's interesting to me that we kind of saw with the Montgomery Club the release of our first, I'd say, set, so to speak, inspired by Project 2020 with the Ben Baller set, which actually did just drop. And that Ben Baller set was a Montgomery exclusive, for example. But that's one of those sets that, we talk about it all the time. How many new direct-to-consumer sets and things will they have, whatnot. This was one of those sets that when I heard it was coming out, I was like, oh, great, another just little cash grab now that Project 2020 tanked. Then I looked at the cards and I realized that I actually like them better than Series 1 and Series 2. And real quick, we are going to bring in another guy you guys are very familiar with, Mr. John Newman. What's up, John?
What's up, man? Hey, my makeup artist got stuck in traffic, so we're going no camera. He couldn't help me much even when he was here, but I just want to – I'm not going to take a lot of time, everyone. I just want to, say thanks to the About the Cards guys. What they brought to the show, you can't put a price on. They kept it classy in their departure, and that's appreciated. And, I want to welcome all the new folks that are going to be involved in the show. I mean, every week you're just going to see a lot of different faces, and it's going to take some of those stresses off of having to be sort of locked in somewhere every Saturday. Not that there's anything terrible about that, but, it'll at least relieve where you don't feel like it's all on certain individuals. And, we're gonna continue on and build this thing in the direction we were heading in always. And it's fun. And again, this show is not about the hosts. The 3 or 4 people on the screen they're great in their own right, whoever they are at the time. But this is a interactive caller-driven show, and we're going to obviously work on that to build that up as well. But that's where the tone gets set. That's where the show. That was the original premise of the show, and that's always going to be the premise of the show. And when that goes away, so will the show.
By the way, just to say, the discussion that Mike and John had last Monday about grading is must-see TV.
Yes, it is.
It was cordial.
Yes.
It was energetic.
Yep.
And we have two very different viewpoints, both of whom are correct. I know that's hard to say, but I think that's something that like this show should publicize. Look at the great discussion we had, because obviously grading is an important part of the hobby. And the discussion Mike and John had should be publicized even more than it was, because that was a really important discussion about the two different opinions about why to grade and why not to grade, or why somebody grades and why somebody doesn't grade. And Mike has his business model and John has his business model, and they're both correct within their business model.
Yeah, and that's the thing, Rich. That, you know, I've said it. I know Mike said it. We're not the only two that have said it. But, you know, there's more than one way to enjoy the hobby, whether that's in a buying mode, a selling mode, a pure collection mode. There's multiple facets. And I know I sound like a broken record. The only wrong way to do it is when you do it illegally, whether that's scamming somebody or doing something illegal with cards. And
I will agree. It is must-see TV 100%. I loved it. Being able to host it and almost moderate it was even more fun. Feel free to jump into that conversation anytime.
And I think I want to speak for Mike. He's right here. You know, I going back to that conversation, you know, that there was no shtick there. Those are just two guys offering their opinions and viewpoints. And like Rich said, there is no wrong answer. We just explained why
your viewpoints
like something or don't like something,
which is a lost art in this day and age. It really is. It's a truly lost art. Like too many times we see it come from. It starts out like y'all's debate last week, where it starts out semi-civil, and then all of a sudden the switch gets flipped, and then it seems a hurricane's happened, and it just goes off the rails. So, you know, speaking on that end, it was nice, you know, to know that there was actually, you know, able to keep it that way. But that comes from your professionalism itself. But
well, for me, you know, I mean, let's put these things in the proper. We're talking about cardboard and chrome items.
What's up, Mike?
And at the end of the day, you know, that's what it is. It's not to burn bridges or, you know, make stuff personal or name call, which I really tend not to do in general, or try not to. And so it is, you know, there's more than one way to enjoy this great hobby. And with all the new technologies and new cards and new selling platforms and new you know, way the cards are distributed to us, that's ever changing. Next week will be different than this week.
Yeah, you definitely got that right. Absolutely.
All right, guys, I don't want to take up any more time. Plus, I got to run and get ready here. But you know, again, the show must go on. Thank you to all involved.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for
thank you to all involved going forward.
Sounds good, John.
Right. We'll see you.
Or Drew freeze or what? He looks like he's frozen there.
Okay, so Mike, while Drew is frozen, you've become a store owner now.
Yes.
It's got to be an interesting switch to become a store owner from, you know, you've been doing sports lots, you've been doing comps, you've been doing eBay. You now have a fourth way of selling items.
Yep. Yeah, it's interesting. It's been the first month has been a lot of organization and getting things ready.
Yeah.
as I've touched on before, this is kind of a unique setup where I've got a shop within another shop. And so it's a little bit like having a permanent show set up to some extent. The parameters that we've got set in place with the main shop owner put some restrictions on me that also simplify a little bit of what I need to do too, right? So since he's the main shop owner, he has the exclusive rights to sell wax that is within the last 5 years. And so I can't sell any brand new wax. So I don't have to deal with any of these allocation issues or all of these other things that are going on. And he also has the exclusive rights to sell supplies. For the last 6 months, that also has been a big headache because nobody can get their hands on any supplies. And so a lot of what I'm dealing with is older wax and singles. And those are the types of things that are readily available in collections and that I was already acquiring, pricing, and doing all of those things with when I sold on the online platforms, as well as the monthly show that I set up to.
Right.
And so to some extent, this just allowed me to expand my show setup by about 10 times and not have to pack up and haul stuff there and then unload it and put it back in my house and then redo it again because our show was at as well. And so it has been a transition, but there have been things like officially getting a business license and a lot of the other aspects like that come with having a brick and mortar presence that I've had to do and I've had to learn more about. There's things like as simple as getting a card reader so that I can make credit card payments instead of just cash or direct, PayPal, those types of things. And so there's already been a lot of learning that's come along with it. One of the other things that I love so far is I've got a 10 and a 12-year-old, and they've been coming with me at least one of the 2 weekend days a week to help me sort and to negotiate. They've made a couple sales for me when people have said that they were interested in something and they priced it out. And so they're learning some of those business and negotiation skills. And so those are all things that are being able to be expanded a little bit more by now having this brick and mortar presence. And it's been a lot of fun. This weekend here, I'll be there at noon, from noon to 4 today and noon to 4 tomorrow, Central Time. And that'll kind of officially be the second weekend of being open. But it's been fun. And it's been fun selling. When I post a picture or I send out a tweet and people say, hey, I'd like that box. I'd like those 2 boxes. And being able to make some sales from the shop through some of these other online social media channels. It's been a blast so far. And so I really look forward to kind of continuing to build that out and to engage with both new customers in the physical sense, as well as the increased interaction that it can potentially lead to with all of my online friends.
Yeah, well, I know I'm really looking forward to seeing that growth itself. Quickly, real fast, we have a caller I'm going to bring in just one moment, but we had a comment here regarding the Ben Baller set that we were talking about. And David Gamble says that flipping need to learn from Project 2020, wonder how quickly they'll get their boxes. And David, I wanted to just kind of point out that this is a little different than Project 2020, as this isn't a print to order type of deal. This is Montgomery Club. There is a finite amount. They know the finite amount ahead of time. There isn't a lot of logistical issues even came down to getting one touches. These little logistical issues come down to they're just putting out another little product with a small print run, as opposed to Project 2020, where they have no clue on the number, nothing, and have to go from there. So there is a little difference. I'm not someone that personally gets into the pre-selling and things like that, but for the people that do, there are some major differences from this Ben Baller release than actual Project 2020 releases, outside of both of them being direct from Tops.
A couple things there. So what we're talking about with the Montgomery Club, one of the benefits of Montgomery Club is early access to purchase some of these products. That is one of the benefits. It's not only going to be available to Montgomery Club members. Early next week, there's going to be a raffle. Is one of the ways that their Tops is trying to combat bots. So you can put your name in the hat to be randomly drawn to be able to purchase a box of this product. I don't know the specifics on that. It should be out Monday, Tuesday, sometime early next week based on what I've heard. But I don't know the specifics. And the other piece is, yes, there's a big difference between print to order sets and online exclusive sets.
Yes.
And so Project 2020, Topps Living Set, some of those types of things are print to order. They're going to make as many as the orders that come in during that order window. A product like this Ben Baller set, Allen and Ginter X, the Finest Flashback set that was out a couple weeks ago, those are just online exclusive sets. They've already determined how much is going to make, and then it's available for sale until it sells out. And so those are two very different things, other than they're both available for purchase on Topps.com.
All right. Well, real quick, guys,
very different than online exclusive.
Absolutely, 100%. And so, guys, now we're going to bring in another caller. I spoke earlier as if you guys did miss the earlier announcement of us having some new hosts on the show, with including Uncle Rich Klein now being one of the hosts. We've got yet another one calling in to kind of make his official debut on the line. You guys might know him, Confessions of a Texas Card Dude, Brad Bethune. What's up, buddy?
What's up, boys? What's up?
Welcome.
You say you were at another casino today?
Yeah, I'm actually in Tulsa, Oklahoma. In great big huge Tulsa, Oklahoma. The wife's birthday is this weekend, so we decided to try a completely different casino in a completely different area. And I tell you, it's nice. It's nice. I'll give it.
I envy your casino life, but before we get into anything, I just wanted to say welcome to Hobby Hotline. We're looking forward to having you as part of the show, bud.
Thank you. I'm just waiting for my official Hobby Hotline yellow T-shirt that Newman wears. That's all.
So what's up, man?
So I apologize. We had a very late night last night. One of the things that I'm having problems with is I've got multiple shipments going to the East Coast from Texas, and I am having a dickens of a time.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, I can't believe I used the dickens of a time. Dickens of a time with shipping times.
Oh.
It's now going on to 3 weeks, and I've got to go Monday to have somebody track a package for me with the post office. Mm-hmm. And I shipped something PWE, and it still hasn't arrived 3.5 weeks later.
There has been some major, ever since now. I know a couple of people that work in the postal industry that are collectors, and I talk to them frequently about this stuff. And there's two real schools of thought on it. One of them is that there's a new head postmaster, and that new head postmaster has caused a lot of issues, I've been told. Now, whether that is, political BS, junk opinion, who knows, whatever, that could be it. But I know, as being on the East Coast myself, in North Carolina, for example, Greensboro, they're the main hub for North Carolina. There's one in Raleigh, but 95% of all mail goes through the Greensboro hub. I've had packages in the last couple of weeks that have been held up there for 3-4 weeks at a time, 5-6 weeks. I mean, it's the USPS is an absolute total nightmare on the East Coast right now, like a nightmare, especially USPS.
Well, from a customer service standpoint, I guess this is a great question for Mike, because you do such a lot of PWEs. At what point do you just cut a loss and refund the money? Because it's $5. I mean, it's $5, but I'm more concerned about the guy not getting his card. I mean, after 3 weeks, even I as a consumer would be like, "Come on, man, really?
Right?
What is your policies,
the one
Mike?"
thing you have to remember is legally, unless they change the law, it's 30 days.
Yeah.
The package you have to allow 30 days before you legally can ask for a refund. With everything going on, we've sped up that thing, but there's still that 30-day legal part out there.
Okay.
And so I'm not saying to delay, but if you're sending PWE, you're risking that with every transaction you do. Because you're not, unless you're tracking, unless you're doing, the signature and all that. If you end up with somebody who's not scrupulous, they may say they never got the package, and they did.
Right.
And so that's why, for us it's fine, but there are some people out there who love to game the system. Yeah. And I'm not saying the person who hasn't gotten your PWE hasn't got, really has gotten it. There are real issues with the USPS. But there are legal things you have to remember, too, about how quickly you do your refund. And legally, you're obligated after 30 days if he claims that, but not before.
Yeah, Brad, usually because I only use PWE for the lower end type shipments that I had, kind of like you said, less than $5. If that situation comes up and it's been a couple weeks, I usually just refund them right away. But again, for me personally, I've done this for 3 years. I've shipped thousands of PWE shipments, and I think I've probably refunded less than 10 combined because of damage or the item never made it. And so it really has not been an issue. And so for that $20 to $40 maybe that I've refunded, I've generated thousands of dollars of sales, right? And so it's not been an issue for me. But like you said, from a customer service perspective, if it's a couple bucks, I will a lot of times just refund them right away. I would consider blocking them or whatever if it's somebody that you feel it doesn't feel right, if that something just doesn't feel right about it. But at the same time, we know that stuff can get lost from time to time. So usually, like I said, it's only happened to me a handful of times out of thousands of PWEs that I've sent. And in those situations, I just refund them.
Okay. All right. Well, that's my biggest concern. Just because one of them's, a $5. Okay, I understand, not a problem. The other one's like a $25, and I've got tracking on that sucker. And I know what happened to cause the issue from the post office at my end. I have a gentleman in my office, and I'm just going to say in my post office near me, that mismarks stuff from time to time. He will mark it delivered as opposed to received. And when he does that, it skews the entire system. I've gone to the post office. I've asked them to track a package, and they go, oh, so-and-so's name has handled this package. And I've done that a couple of times. And I'm once I hear that, I'm, okay, now I know exactly what happened. And I know that's what happened in this instance. So I'm just sitting here going, come on, man.
Well, with the tracking stuff, that's one of those you're just going to have to wait it out, see what happens. At least with that, there's some sort of recourse. My advice in terms of the PWE, especially being so cheap, is one of those things where I'd probably just refund and not have to deal with the hassle and hope you get an honest person. And if not, it's out that right now. But right now would be the one time I would not be I don't send PWE personally unless it's super cheap and they ask. But right now, especially, I would even tell them it's a mess right now. And so there's a lot better chance of something going on right now than, let's say, 8 months ago. So, that's where I'd say on that end, at least.
Well, what's real interesting is I sent something to Herman in Georgia, and it took less than 5 days.
Right. Oh yeah, no. Well, I mean, some of them will go through fine. I mean, I have, like I said, at Greensboro. I mean, that's just the way the post office and really any Amazon, just all that stuff is through any business right now when they get overwhelmed. I mean, I have stuff that goes through the Greensboro system. I'll have 10 packages that I send out. 7 of them will sit there for a week, and the other 3 will get there in 2 days instead of 5. I mean, it's just the randomness of the post office and getting lucky. Really, is what it comes down to.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, boys.
Well, I will tell you, way back in the day, way back in the day, many letter carriers and people who worked in the post office actually were among the very first baseball card dealers, because if you were a really efficient mail carrier, you could be done for your day by 12 or 1 o'clock. And, as long as you got your route done for the day, when I was growing up, we had a gentleman by the name of Manzo who was our mail delivery guy until he retired. He had our mail to us by 9 o'clock. By 11 o'clock, he was done. He worked 6 to 11 every day, or 7 to 11. He's getting his 8-hour day done in 4 hours. They did not care because he got his work done. So he actually had 4 extra. So if he was a card collector, he had 4 extra hours a day to work on his hobby. I almost wish we could go back to those days to some extent. Get your stuff done quickly. You got more time.
Yeah.
There you go. Well, Brad, thanks so much for calling in, and welcome to Hobby Hotline, man. Looking forward to getting to chat some weeks, some months, have you on the show permanently. So,
sure thing. It's going to be my pleasure, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So, y'all have fun. Mike, congratulations on the store. I said it before. I'll say it again. I wish you nothing but success.
Thanks, man.
Yeah.
Talk to y'all later.
Have a good one, buddy. Good luck, and remember, I get 10%. Have a good one.
Okay, bye.
All right. So, as you guys know, Brad, he's a regular caller on the show. Yet, like we said, another one of our new hosts. I'm very glad to have him on the show, as he brings a lot of, I think an interesting thing about Brad is he brings that. He's someone that wants to, like, I think anyone that does any show like this, you want to learn about anything. You want to learn everything about everything, as much as you can. And he's new in the hobby, at least in the modern hobby. Hasn't been in it for 15, 20 years. So, brings a very unique perspective, and really looking forward to having him on the show as well. Let's see here. So, all right. So we got about 10 minutes left on today's show, guys. I've got the link here that we put in the chat once again. We would love to hear from some of you guys. If you've got a question, anything in the hobby that's been going on this week that you wanted to discuss, anything along those lines, let me know. Just give us a call, and we can get it done. But Rich, speaking on everything, until someone does call in or the show's over, with the, I wanted to ask you this, and I didn't really get a chance to talk to you specifically about it, but with the National being canceled and everything, I talked about it on my show this week about possibly Texas, a place like that, maybe ending up trying to do a mid-year version of a National, something like that, a secondary, kind of like if you're a wrestling fan, a SummerSlam to a WrestleMania. I compared it to. What do you think about it being canceled, and how are the shows? What's it looking like down there?
Well, we had a show last weekend, 200 plus tables.
Nice.
that I could walk to from my office.
Yeah, it looked crowded as anything. It looked crowded.
I felt a lot better because in June there was a very small percentage of people wearing masks and really doing social distancing, physical distancing. This was much better for that. There are photos of people without masks. Yes, there were some people not wearing them, but it was maybe 90% of people wearing masks. It was a lot better on that. So I was glad to see. I'm in Collin County, which is a very politically conservative county. And so they're a little more, and to use the word conservative and liberal in the same sentence makes no sense, but they're a little more liberal with how they let businesses do things. The Dallas Convention Center is downtown, and Dallas County is a much less conservative area than this area. So even though it's a venue you could host a big show in, right now you're probably not going to have one there.
Right.
But you can have shows. You can have 200-300 table shows in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. You could probably do them just outside Houston too, maybe in some of the other areas. I think once everything clears up, I'd be a big fan of having either a 300 or 400 table show in the Dallas area next year, in a bigger show, even October, September. When the weather cools down a little, I'm all in favor of it. So it's okay. I think we talked about this on one of the podcasts I did with Dr. Beckett. just before the baseball strike in 1994, a lot of the big local promoters of the time, and there were big local promoters in those days, were starting concepts called, like Wanda Marcus had the Southwest Regional National at the Arlington Convention Center. You could get 400 tables into that room. So we've been there before, and right now we can be there again. And the National will still be the National because it still will get the best.
Right.
And in terms of this year, I think it was a decision that's the right decision. I mean, look, the Beckett had an industry summit. They wanted to do it in person. They thought better of it and made it a virtual industry summit. Upper Deck's already canceled their Diamond thing for January of next year.
Yeah.
I'll pretty much wager Tops probably at some point will cancel their February con.
Yeah.
Unless we come up with a treatment, what I call the Sudafed treatment, or a vaccine. If we come up with either of those things, then we can feel comfortable going ahead. And remember, it's not just a vaccine we're looking for. There's also treatments being worked on. And if you can get a treatment that at least lets people just keep going and mitigate some of the worst of the effects of the COVID-19, then you can start getting really back towards regular life. But in terms of this year, I agree. And as I just pointed out for John Brogy, there were personal and professional reasons. And he with the national board made the decision they felt was correct. And they tried their darndest to get the show in and realized it's not going to work in 2020. We'll come back in 2021. Yeah.
What about you? What do you think, Mike? Do you think a show like this is something that's like needed? What do you think?
I think the great thing about shows like the National is the camaraderie that comes along with it, right? Yep. The spectacle that comes along with it. The people that come for the first time are blown away with the size and the scale and the grandeur, and it's your chance to see these mecca items of things that, people have never seen before and have heard so much about. And that is one of the coolest things, the chance to meet and build relationships with people, the chance to learn about cards and types of cards and sets and eras of collecting that you've never seen or know much about. All of those things happen at big shows like the National. And so is it going to leave a little bit of a vacuum this year that we don't have that? Sure. That's something that people look forward to every year. And with as hot as the hobby has been, I think we would have seen, again, record numbers of attendees at the National going this year. But at the same time, like Rich said, I think is the right move to call that off this summer. I think it's the right move to call that off this winter. But going forward, is there room for more than one quote unquote mega show a year? I think that there probably is. Does it have to be under the National header and brand name? Not necessarily. I don't necessarily think that's the case. Yeah. I think there's room for a mega show on the West Coast. I probably won't be attending, but I think from a pure demand perspective, I think it would do really well. I think there's opportunity for a mega show somewhere in the South, Texas, Florida, Georgia, is one of those bigger locations in the South. I think there is currently a market for that type of thing. And so, I think going forward, once this gets cleaned up and we're back into a more normal societal health perspective, I think there's definitely room for something like that.
Mike, I just want to point out, I agree. Well, you said something I thought was a very trenchant comment. Last year was the first time I've ever walked into the National, and I was not overwhelmed on the spot. And I've been going to nearly 40. I've been going for nearly 40 years. I'm in the mid 30s of going. And I usually have to catch my breath when I go in the door. Mm-hmm. It's just so overwhelming. And then once you start working it gets a little easier. But if you've never been to the National before, it's a different world. I mean,
oh man,
Drew, you've been to what, 3, 4 now the last few years?
Yeah, this would have been my third. My first one was actually you and I. I think I did an interview.
We did an interview with George. Yes.
Like within 5 minutes of me being there, you sat down with Stu and I. But I hadn't even fully comprehended the first national I went to. I didn't see half of it. I had overloaded myself with work. And I didn't get to walk the entire floor. There was literally an entire half of the place I didn't get a chance to see. It was that, and I had the greatest time ever. It truly is Disneyland on steroids for anyone that loves like the hobby. There's no words don't describe it. People always say you're over exaggerating this, that, the other, and then they go, and the answer is always the same, dude.
Nowadays it's a 4-ring circus. Yes. You have the card show. You have the corporates, you have the autograph pavilion, and you have the case breaking. It's literally a 4-ring. I mean, in the good way, it's a 4-ring circus. You know, not like 3-ring circus the way they describe it in a bad way. It's a good 4-ring circus. There's something that appeals to almost you can appeal to almost everybody at the National with something. There are even diamond quarter boxes to go through. I mean, you can be a collector at every level of the National, from a 10-cent collector to a multi-million-dollar collector. And you can look at stuff. A lot of the big auction houses display their cards, they're coming up, or their items in their future auctions. And it's like, whoa, these are unbelievable. And these are coming up for auction.
You can walk through, I mean, some of the major auction houses. It's literally, and I mean, this is not me making just like a little analogy. It is a mini museum that is set up with stuff that you can't believe you're looking at. I mean, I remember the first National walking into this beautiful little, 10 times smaller than the bedroom I'm in right now, aka office, and like it had nice padded floors, had some stuff sitting up, and I'm looking at a card from like the early 1800s that's like graded a 7. That's graded better than some Prism cards that come out of packs now. And I mean, it's just mind blowing. You know, you just get some I mean, it's a museum. It's interactive. It's fun. It's everything. And you know, I do think there is room. I hope personally that we do get, you know, one of those second type of mega shows. I think it would. I think 3 years ago, maybe when I would have when I went to my first one, I would have probably said no. But now where the hobby is and where it seems to be going, I think it would definitely be something that would be worth at least, you know, taking a shot at. But guys, that it is 12 o'clock, so I guess we'll wrap this week's show up. Before we wrap up, I just want to say once again, thanks so much to the guys from About the Cards, which if you guys joined the show late, they have this show takes a lot of work, guys. It really does. And we all have all of our other shows, and then we have these things like jobs, families, all that other stuff. It takes a lot. So the guys from the About the Cards have decided to step away from Hobby Hotline, and so I'd like to take another moment from all of us here at Hobby Hotline to wish you guys nothing but the best. And you know you're always welcome on guest hosting whenever you guys want. Open invitation. It's always there for you. And at the same token, I would also like to welcome once again the new hosts, the people that will be jumping in and filling some of those roles. We've got some that'll be you know, more regular hosts, and then we got some specialty hosts. So we've got, of course, myself and John Newman from Sports Card Nation, Brad, who called in earlier. We've got Eric Norton from Beckett Media. We've got Jeff, I'm not butchering your name, man, I just can't say it right, aka Pat Geek. And then, of course, we got Uncle Rich Klein from Klein's Corner. We've got Val Marge from NASCAR Radio. We've got the man, Brody the Kid from The Hobby Life. And then we've got guest host Chris Harris, which you guys know is Stale Gum, Jeff Dinson, which you know is In Depth with Deafness, and Ziggy No. And then wrapping it all up with being a guest host is the host of Sports Card Insights, Dr. James Beckett. So really looking forward. Have a lot of new people headed into the show. Looking forward to it. Think it's going to be a ton of fun. Before we do, it does look like one of our guest hosts has just called in for a quick second. So welcome to the show, Chris. Right before we sign off, don't kill yourself.
Yeah, well, I'm actually in my car right now on my way to a card show, and I've been listening to the show today. So
sweet. Well, welcome to Hobby Hotline, man. We're looking forward to having you as part of the show, bud.
Same here. And like you said, I'm not going to be a regular host. I'm just going to be a special host. So I guess maybe, like one guy on Twitter when I announced this compared me to Matt Stairs. So guy who comes off the bench and gets you a home run. So
well,
thanks for having me on. Just wanted to chime in, not kill myself while I'm driving here. So,
well, enjoy the card show, and we look forward to some of those pinch hit home runs, man. Have a good one, buddy.
All righty.
See ya. But yeah, guys. So, like I said, some changes coming, but nothing but for the best. A lot of really fun stuff coming up. But unless you guys have anything else. Wrap up this week. So for myself, Mr. Uncle Rich Klein, and the Mike Summer, you guys have an absolutely wonderful weekend, and well, we'll see you next Saturday. See ya.
Bye.
Perfect.